Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome to CrossKids Aledo. Today is Mother's Day, and we are celebrating mothers everywhere around the world. And I thought it would be appropriate to probably talk about the greatest mom that has probably ever lived, which is probably Mary. And for some reason, God chose her, either of purity of heart, and God chose her to be the mother of Jesus. And a really cool story in the Bible about an interaction that Jesus had with his mom was when he was in Jerusalem, and all of a sudden they can't find him anymore, and he kind of gets lost. And the story is in Luke chapter 2, starting with verse 41. And I want to read this to you, and it's really interesting. And so in 41, it says, "Every year, Jesus' parents went to Jerusalem for Passover festival. When Jesus was 12 years old, they attended the festival as usual. After the celebration was over, they started home to Nazareth. But Jesus stayed behind in Jerusalem." Now, Jesus did not tell his mom and dad where he was. So interesting. So his parents didn't miss him at all at first. They were traveling with a bunch of family. You think that's kind of weird, but when you travel with your mom and dad, it's just your family, and maybe it's 4 or 5 of y'all, and if everybody's there. But man, their whole village probably walked to Jerusalem. And so their friends and family were around. And so at first they didn't really notice Jesus was gone. So if you look at this, and in verse 44, it says, "Because they assumed he was among the other travelers, they thought Jesus was playing with some of the other families or friends in the big caravan that they were in. And so, but when he didn't show up that evening, they started to look for him among their relatives and friends." And in verse 45, it says, "When they couldn't find him, they went all the way back to Jerusalem to search for him there. 3 days later," whoa, I would have been crazy if one of my kids were gone for 3 days. So 3 days later, they finally discovered him in the temple, sitting among the religious teachers, listening to them and asking questions. All who heard him were amazed at his understanding and his answers. Now, pick it up at verse 48. His parents didn't know what to think. And so the verse says, "Son," his mother said to him, "why have you done this to us?" Could you imagine Mary? She was probably so happy to find him, but she was probably also a little upset with Jesus, okay? And so she says this, "Your father and I have been frantic. We've been searching for you everywhere." And in verse 49 it says, Jesus says, "But why did you need to search for me?" He asked, "Didn't you know that I must be in my Father's house?" But they didn't understand what he meant. And in verse 51, "Then he returned to Nazareth with them and was obedient to them." Whoa. Jesus kind of got in a little bit of trouble. But here's the next verse I really want us to focus on this morning in Mother's Day. The next verse says, "And his mother stored all of these things in her heart." That is so much like a mom. I won't remember certain things that happen to our kids, but my wife Joy remembers everything, and she has a special sensitivity toward her kids that I don't necessarily have. I love my kids, I adore them, but moms are just really special in that way, and we see that in Mary's life. Mary had a tough role because she was the mother of Jesus, who was 100% human, but he was also 100% Son of God. And Mary knew this, obviously. And so, tough balancing act. But Mary obviously did an amazing job with Jesus. And because the next verse says, "And Jesus grew in wisdom and stature and in favor with God and all the people." And so, obviously, Jesus was absolutely amazing. But, on this Mother's Day, we think about great moms, and we think about Mary, and there's another great mom. Obviously, you've heard of Mother Teresa, and Mother Teresa, wow, she was a famous person. She never had kids, actually. She went around the world feeding the poor and she won a Nobel Peace Prize. She was just a great person, even though she wasn't a mom. And you know what? I had a mom, obviously, and but my mom died when I was 4 years old from breast cancer. And you know, there were other moms that kind of came to my rescue in my life. I think of the first person, like Mom Powell, my dad's mom. She took care of us. She fed us. She bought us clothes. She watched out for us. And my dad was a policeman, and so she came in and she kind of took care of the house, and she took care of all of us. And she was awesome. I think of Mom Brown, my mom's mom, and she was in Tennessee at the time. And when we went to visit her, I think of how sweet she was. And then my mom also had 4 sisters, and every one of them doted on me and my 2 brothers. And they absolutely adored us, and they loved us. And Aunt Agnes, and she was absolutely amazing. And Aunt Peggy, and Aunt Elizabeth, and Aunt Nancy. All of them just doted on us and loved us, and just really treated us like we were their kids. And I think of also another great woman in my life. When I was in high school, I had a guidance counselor named Mrs. Hill, and she took a really special interest in me, and she cared about me and what was going on in my life. And I've had a lot of great people, great moms in my life. And so you may be sitting there and you may not have a mom, or maybe a mom's not in your life, but there are other great women probably in your life that have taken care of you. And this morning and today, make sure that you reach out to them and you tell them how special they are and how awesome they are and how amazing they are. And because there are great moms that don't have kids. They're just incredible people. And so take a moment to just express your appreciation. You don't have to give them a gift. Obviously, flowers are incredible. Chocolate is always a good thing. But you know what? If you don't have those things, all you have to do is just hug that person's neck, tell them how special they are, send them a text message, write them a card. If you can't do that, obviously, just tell them, and just tell them how amazing that they are, and you're so glad that they're in your life. And so there are some incredible women that have mothered me in my life that I am absolutely grateful for, and I would not be the man that I am today without those really, really special women in my life. And so I want to give a shout out to all those incredible women that were just amazing to me. And I love you, and I think just that you are incredible. You were sent by God to watch over me and my brothers when we didn't have a mom. So I love you, and I hope you just tell someone that was very special in your life how much they mean to you. Thanks for listening today, and I hope you have a wonderful Mother's Day. We'll see you guys later.